What's up, guys? So a little bit of a different video. It's going to be a walk and talk style of video, and I want to talk about the biggest mistake that I see beginning weightlifters make. And this is so common. I would say almost everyone falls into this trap, and it's even more prevalent now that social media is a big thing. Now, the number one mistake, I'll just tell you right away, no more waiting, it's going to be too much variability in your programming. So if you're always switching, you're always trying a new exercise, a new program, a new protocol every single week, every single month, honestly, that is going to be the biggest impediment towards actually making progress. And I see this all the time with beginners. They think they need this special magic movement in their program. They try a program for a week and it doesn't really work out, and they think, okay, the program is bad, or they need to change the program all the time. This is the idea from Westside Barbell, that you need inherent variability in your program all the frickin' time, and you just don't. I think it's very, very overrated. I think when you become an intermediate and advanced, you might need a little bit more variability. I do think there is value in variability, but you can absolutely have too much, and most people have too much. As a beginner, you can probably get by with like 10 movements. Just get stronger at the basics. They're the basics for a reason, because they work. So if you find yourself doing a different movement every single week, something is wrong. If you find yourself doing movements that you don't see anyone else doing, something is probably wrong. And if you find yourself following these people and they're coming out with these new movements every single week and they sound cool, they sound logical, that doesn't mean you have to do them, okay? A movement can sound fucking perfect on paper and be absolute shit in practice. Something like just a flat barbell bench press is going to be better than some weird one-arm cable movement almost all the time, okay? You can load it more heavily, you can progress more consistently, and you can measure your progress much, much better than some other weird circus trick movement. So try to make your training as boring as possible, okay? Your training doesn't need to be interesting, exciting, novel all of the time, and trying to make it novel all the time is probably going to give you worse results. You might feel that fucking dopamine rush. You might feel like your training is interesting and cool. You might actually feel like you're making progress better, but often you're not. You go back to those exercises you did a while ago and your strength is exactly the same. It hasn't changed at all because you haven't actually gotten bigger or stronger or better. You've just been continuously switching the movements. And so I think it's important to actually try something, what's up bros, over a long period of time and see how far it can actually get you. You don't have to switch all the freaking time. And yet I see this with almost every single person. I've done it, almost everyone has done it, and it's not really talked about because all of these influencers, they want to seem like they're giving you something new. Well, sometimes you actually need something old. My shoulder got tired from holding the phone. So I think it's important to keep your training simple, keep your training boring, some steps coming up, and not to get caught up in the temptation of always seeking that thrill of something new. Because at that point, you might not be doing anything productive. You should always be experimenting in your training, but let the experiment run its course. If you try to switch the training halfway through the experiment, you've just ruined the experiment. You're not actually getting anything out of that because you're not actually seeing if anything is actually happening. It takes weeks and months for these adaptations to occur. Yes, you might see progress in the first week, but you might not. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. That doesn't mean it's not working. It just means that you have to be more patient. I've had a couple clients ask me after a week of working with me, should I see progress or should I see results? Some people do see results in a week, but after a week, you might not, okay? You don't even have the second week to compare to the first week. So you can't even tell if you're getting stronger or not because you can't really see a progression because you haven't even done that second week. So, be patient. I know it's hard in the age of social media, but it's really, really important if you want optimal results from your training. And, this is something that's not really talked about very much, but I think it's really important. So, and that's the thing that I see the most with beginners. They program hop, they use like fancy exercises that they not only don't need, but are actually counterproductive for their goals. So if that's you, and you probably know if it's you, scale things back, stick to the basics, and I promise you'll get better results. And sometimes a beginner will come to me and, you know, they'll fill out the questionnaire and their strength will be pretty low. Like they can barely bench press 40 kilos or something, or they can't even squat less than their body weight. And I'll just tell them, like, you know, it's not really worth it to get a custom plan. Just go do starting strength, you know, go do a basic 5x5 program. That's what is going to be optimal for you, most likely. And if it's not, even then, like, you can still make really good progress on that type of simple, basic workout, just focusing, you know, on the basic movements. And, and that's going to be, you know, enough for most people. If you can't, you know, get to these basic strength levels, don't worry about this more complicated stuff, because, oh, that's pretty. I mean, strength solves a lot of stuff. Most people will improve their body composition as well, just from getting stronger. So if you want more muscle, get stronger. If you want to be stronger, get stronger. If you want to lose fat, get stronger. It all just goes back to strength. And if you can't get to these basic strength levels, just use a 5x5 program, and that's going to be much better than like paying some influencer for a program that probably isn't custom, or even paying me for a program that is custom, just because as a beginner it's not really necessary. So keep your training as simple as possible, as long as possible. Stay a beginner as long as you can. I know that seems a little bit counterintuitive, but if you're a beginner, stuff is easy. You don't have to, you know, worry about complicated stuff until you really have to. You know, I'm sure any advanced bodybuilder, powerlifter, etc., they would love to still be a beginner, because stuff is simple. You can progress very, very linearly, and, you know, why make things more complicated than they need to be? Why try to be an advanced athlete when you can just be a beginner and everything is way easier? So as long as possible, keep things as simple as possible. And that is going to be better in the long run. And then eventually, when you have to become an intermediate and you have to, you know, go with more complicated exercises or protocols or progressions, then just do it. But don't do it before you have to. I see so many people treating themselves as an advanced athlete when they're really, you know, they should be a beginner and they should be on a beginner program. And you can probably do a beginner program for like 2-3 years, maybe even more. And this goes in terms of your training log as well. So don't record everything at first. You know, if you don't really want to make a training log, just record your sets, your reps, the weight used, the date, maybe just how you felt, if, you know, a particular area felt good or bad or whatever. But you don't have to record, you know, the humidity, the time of day, all this other like ridiculous information, like where the workout is or who it was with, or, you know, any of this stuff. It's not really that important. Just the basic stuff is going to be enough, especially when you're a beginner. And in fact, even when you're a more advanced athlete, again, you should try to keep it as simple as possible for as long as possible. And trust me, it would be extremely easy for me to write an extremely complicated plan. You know, some kind of undulating periodized mess with linear regression and optimized functionality with, you know, changes every single week. But that's not necessary. And usually just the basics are going to be just fine, if not better, because you don't have to worry about all this weird shit in your program. So if you order a program from like some influencer and you don't even understand what they're doing, like it just seems like a total mess, and, you know, every week it's something completely different. And yes, I am referring to Athlete Next on this one because I have seen some of his programs and they are a fucking travesty. I hear so many people, they come to me and they're like, yeah, I tried this and it was tough, it was hard, it was confusing as shit, but I didn't actually see any kind of results in terms of strength. Well, yeah, that's because there's no actual periodization or progression. It's just every week what some other guy thinks is cool for you. And it's not even for you, it's not even customized, it's just a complete fucking mess. So don't buy those kind of programs because they're not actually going to be good. Something like a 5x5 is going to be, one, fucking free, And two, it's going to be better as well. So, you know, don't waste your money on some of these ultra complicated plans, which in actuality are complete and total dog shit. And in actuality, if you have a coach, they should try to make things as simple as possible. If you ever don't understand what they're doing, if there's no logical reason for a switch, don't make the switch. Before you change your program, always ask yourself why. Variety for the sake of variety is usually overrated. You can change your movements, you can change the exercises, you can switch things up occasionally, and I think it's actually necessary, at least every maybe 6 to 8 weeks, but every single week, you don't actually get enough momentum to actually learn these movements. You know, if you do incline a fifth of the time, and then, you know, maybe flat bench, and then dumbbell press, and then some kind of machine, and then some kind of cable fly, and that's like your rotation every 5 weeks, you have a new chest day, you're never actually going to get better at those movements because you don't actually have enough time and consistency to practice those movements. So that is a huge issue, and, you know, try to make your training as simple as possible. One of the comments that I get is that my training is too simple when I write a plan. People will ask me, oh, what's the rest time? Go by feel. People will ask me, they'll say, like, when should I add weight? Just progress to the top of the rep range and then add more weight and then progress from there as you can. It's actually a lot simpler than like, oh, you go up in weight this much and then you go down in weight and then you wave up and you wave down and then you wave hello and you wave goodbye and then your program's locked. Watching the street. Hope I don't die. Jinxed it. But, you know, most people don't have the patience for this. Over 50% of people have already stopped watching this video. There you go. And if this video has seemed repetitive, that's exactly how your training should be too. Just bought something, so I had to put the mask back on. But the reason for this is that your nervous system is going to adapt before your actual muscles. So your body is going to seek to do what is most efficient and easiest, and it's a lot easier to make your nervous system adapt than actually to build new muscle tissue. So when you're using these new movements, you're going to be adapting your nervous system because that's easier and more efficient. You want to do the same movement so that your nervous system adapts first, and then you can start building muscle. It's been shown that beginners actually build minimal muscle because their nervous system adapts first. So make sure your nervous system adapts first, then you stay with the same movement before switching to make sure you actually get muscular gains as well. Okay. What's up, bro? Street sweepers over here. Anyway, so that's all for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace! He walks, he talks, delivering the information through the park, on a lark, whatever the chosen location. Knowledge bombs, singing psalms, delivering gains like lactation. Wait, what?